Well, it's not because it's changing,
Yeah,
so it's kind of exciting.
yeah.
With that, and your summer, have you gone anywhere exciting?
I have, I've hardly been here.
Really?
Yeah, all over the north.
You didn't wear sunscreen. I was so sick that night, I was desperate. Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
I'll do that.
yeah, wow. I said, don't you want the canopy up? No.
I would have the white bird hats that breathe. Next thing,
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's a really smart idea.
Costco's fine.
There you go. Yeah.
Have you gone anywhere this summer?
No, my husband and I were trying to barn tower, we just like hanging out. So, we've actually got a gravel mining operation going on across the street from where we're at. So they're mining a 60-acre pit right now. So during the day, which is when they run, but eventually, you know, with the development, they'll have to mine.
Right.
We won't have
Well, that's nice. Yeah.
Put some fish in there.
something, but there's a lot of four-wheeler trails along where we're at where we can just
Yeah.
jump on the back and then you can see deer, turkey, you
Where
know.
about are you?
We're down by the Boise River, off of Midland.
Okay.
So there's a sportsman's access, we don't put
Yeah.
but, you know, we've known them neighbors.
That's great. Yeah.
Being your own bed at night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Along the boys, there's a lot of wildlife over there.
yeah. All legal last. Few and far between all that money.
Gravel prices gone crazy.
Such a hot commodity right now. They're mining, we talked to the superintendent, you know, Tom, Yantis. He's a supervisor for transportation, so that's whole.
Oh, okay.
He said it's going pretty fast,
What's the address on this street and stuff like that?
pushing out, so.
Pelican Lane, is that already listed?
Yeah, their code's already, that's the term, right.
There it is. I'm trying to look it up on my map.
That's not near one across from the Yeah, okay. I know the guy doing the one across the river.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the guy's 100-something acres over there.
Yeah.
They're doing.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if we can get going here and get this accomplished for you. Good afternoon. It is time for our scheduled 1:30 meeting here at the courthouse. We have Commissioner Van Fleet, Commissioner Dale, and Monica Reeves on this side of the table. We are here to discuss the, let me get the proper wording here. Now, this is a public hearing, actually, to consider a request by Greg Schatzel for a preliminary plat with irrigation and drainage plans for Pelican subdivision, case number SD 2019-0014. And we do have action items to consider finding signing the findings of fact conclusion of law and order. With that, so we will, I'm assuming that we have Greg, Dan here, who have signed up to speak, so we will get people sworn in.
Tricia Nielsen, Dan Lister, Greg Schatzel, Dan Lardy. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? So help you God?
I do.
And on the, thanks, Dan, and we have Dan Lister on the WebEx with us. And so, Dan, I'm just going to turn it over to you at this point.
Thank you, Commissioner Dale and Commissioner Van Beek. I'm Dan Lister from Canyon County Development Services to discuss the item before you, which is a preliminary plat for Pelican subdivision. So this would be a 11-lot subdivision with the one road access, which is an existing private road, Pelican Lane. And just kind of going through the plat here. So 11 lots, one private road, which will connect. There's an addition, Lake Vista Lane, that would be added towards the south, and I'll use my little scribbler here to show you where that is. So that's the addition to that private road that would serve the 4 lots down below. This is a rural residential zone, 2-acre average minimum lot size that was approved in 2019. The average lot size for this development is 2.43 acres. These will be served by individual well and septic. As stated in the plat notes, this is served by an existing private road. They have a requirement that it will be owned and maintained by the homeowners association. As you see on lot 7, 8, and 9, there's little shaded areas. That's areas that are 15% slopes or greater. In there, the plat note number 14 shows that this is a no-build zone, so there's no development within these sloped areas. So as part of the private road, so the private road portion has been approved by the director, the naming and things like that. And there's an easement that leads from parcel, I believe it's 8 to that road. And let me just kind of show you that with my pointer here. There's a little easement there that was approved by the director for easement reduction. And that will just serve the access to lot 8. Of course, there's a canal which would have to be crossed right here. And so as a condition, they'll have to work with the irrigation district to get that crossing agreement. And yeah, the road will have to be constructed to private road standards. Irrigation, and let's get to that real quick. Irrigation is, gravity irrigation is proposed on lots 1 through 7. Lots 8, 9, 10, and 11 are dry lots. They don't have access they don't have water rights, and due to topography on that area too, it would be difficult to irrigate them. So they would be dry lots as identified in state law, where each lot would be able to irrigate through domestic well, half-acre feet, and the rest of it would be dry, or they can apply through IDWR to get more rights if they want to utilize that more. As stated, the properties would be served by septic. We did receive a letter from Southwest District Health identifying there's still some corrections that they need as part of their subdivision review of this. However, they did state that this can be corrected at the construction and stage prior to final plat approval. So they said it was just minor issues. They just wanted to identify some other locations on each lot to serve the septic. So it wouldn't be any lot changes or anything like that. It'd be something that they could address during the construction plans and provided evidence of approval at the time of final plat. Drainage on the site would be, runoff would be maintained on within the subdivision. Drainage will be routed through roadside swells to the located easements as shown on this plat here. There's the easement here that it would be drained to. But the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended that this actually be part of the road lot, which is a common lot, which and not be part of an easement. That would be up to the board to agree with that or not. Easement or being part of the road lot would work in both cases. And let's see here. Let's go here. So agency comments, Boise Project Board of Control identified the review body as them. What is it? Bureau of Reclamation and Wilder. And so crossing of the lateral requires approval, and that that they wish to review the final plat prior to approval, just to make sure they meet the requirements. Department of Environmental Quality requires a stormwater NPDES permit, basically a pollution plan for any stormwater. So they would have to apply for that. It's required for any development on lots greater than 1 acre, that they would have to apply for that development on greater than 1 acre. And then also they recommend a dust control plan just during the development, that they control their dust. And so they would provide that at the time of construction as part of the construction plan, that they show that how they're gonna reduce dust as part of that development. Nampa Highway District reviewed the final, reviewed this application, did not find issues. They just wanted to review the final plat, which is required because they would have to sign it at the end. No issues or concerns were identified by ITD. Keller Associates, our county engineer, found this to be consistent with Canyon County Code, subject to conditions that have been applied to the final, the FCOs as part of your packet. Our code states that the board shall consider the commission's recommendations as part of this review. As Exhibit 5 and 6 are their minutes and FCOs. As you can see, they did approve, recommend approval of this plat subject to the conditions. And then the section, the other item is the board shall consider this and just review the ordinance and standards to evaluate this application. Again, staff and county engineer did review this and found that it met all the minimum requirements for this type of plat, the preliminary plat. So staff is also recommending approval subject to the conditions, and I'll just briefly go over those. So standard conditions are they have to do all their subdivision improvements either prior to final plat approval or through a bonding of those the improvements or the fees for those improvements till they get them done. The private road will have to meet our county standards for construction, and if I remember correctly, some of those are some of that construction has already been done. A little history on this. This is an older subdivision that was approved back in 2007. This was approved for basically the same development, and preliminary plat for Pelican Land did come in, but it expired. As you know, the economy crashed, and a lot of people permits expired at that point. They would have to do a road users maintenance agreement with all property owners that take access off of that. So the adjacent subdivision, Sunset, would be part of that, and any other properties that have legal access to that private road. As stated, they have to meet DEQ's requirements for stormwater pollution control, as well as dust control. Our county engineer recommends a short-term plan of how they're short-term and long-term plan of how they're going to maintain the roadside swales to ensure they drain properly into the stormwater, the storm basin, which is something they address at the final plat stage. The rest of it is standard historic irrigation laterals and stuff will be protected. They will have to work with the highway or irrigation district for approval and also for a crossing agreement. The Planning and Zoning Commission did add a few additional conditions. One of them is that on the final plat, it's noted that no flood irrigation is allowed on the property, and that would be better for controlling runoff. So that was one of the recommended additions. Also on the final plat, that the drainage retention pond be located onto the road lot and not on an easement. Again, I think the easement or the road lot would work in this case. There's really no, I think that both of them have mechanisms to maintain that and control that. Again, the rest of it is just all the other agencies get to review this prior to final plat approval. So that is Marsing Fire District, Napa Highway District, Southwest District Health. So all the affected agencies who, especially the ones who have to sign the plat, get to review this towards the end. And with that, staff has recommended approval. I'm available for questions.
So Dan, just for my curiosity, I'm trying to line this up with what I'm looking at on the actual satellite view map. Do you have accessibility to well, that one it's kind of difficult because you've got the north going left instead of up like we're used to.
Right.
But I won't criticize your mapping. Okay, so that helps a little bit. So it does, and that's what I was trying to determine. I think everything looks in order. You know, I'm not opposed to this at all. I just want to try to clear it for my curiosity. So they will come across that canal down into that area just south of that existing home, and that's what I was trying to figure out looking at my map here. So it does cross the canal and come on down there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. And the lots themselves, so it looks like the canal goes right through between 7 and 8. Is that correct?
Yeah, let me go back to that. Correct. 7 and 8, there is a canal that bisects that area.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thanks for that. I was just trying to match it up with what I've got on my map here. So thank you. All right, Commissioner Van Bee.
Mr. Chair. Dan, help me out here because I'm and I don't have opposition to this either, but I want some clarification questions, and some of it's related to the information provided by Southwest District Health, but they're still looking for navigation on that turn. So it would specifically include lots 8, 9, 10, and 11. And I'm assuming that 15% slope, especially for lot 8, it's listed as a 2.86 acre lot, but a lot of that is in a gray shade. So what's the actual lot size for that? And are the other lots, it doesn't show that they're gray, but those, I guess that block has concern. Can you talk about that, Dan?
Correct. So yeah, as you can see, there is the hillside areas throughout that, and it mostly affects Lot 8. When staff reviewed this, staff still found that the area is still a buildable area within that. Staff did not calculate the leftover area of the buildable area as part of this. So yeah, let me pull my bigger plat so I can see this better. But yeah, it's a 2.86 acre lot. But yeah, obviously the buildable area, if you take out the slopes, would be a smaller area. But I think it's still over an acre in size, that area.
Yeah. Looks to me like it's maybe half and half, so you got still plenty of room there.
So Trish, can you talk a little bit about the access on lot 8? Because it looks like that gradient area for access to that lot crosses the road there. So can you give us some parameters on the allowance that you made for that?
So for the easement reduction?
Yes.
Well, basically, when we look at an easement reduction, we look at, is the road going to be extended in the future? How much travel can be expected? So when it doesn't really connect to another subdivision or going to be extended, then typically it can be reduced. I mean,
So we went from
it meets the fire access requirement. There's just not, it's just the dimensions work for the width of the road that's required to serve that limited amount of traffic.
And what did you reduce that to, or what allowance did you give
I
that?
think Dan has, I think it was from 60 to 30, is that correct, Dan?
Correct. Let me pull that real quick. I thought I added that to your, I think it's finding attachment F, exhibit 1.
Okay. And then, Dan, on this little sign that comes out and it's the not a part, it looks like that's an approved subdivision that was platted. So there is maybe something else out in that area, because it looks pretty ag, and I know we've approved this, but again, I don't have an objection. I'm just looking at the topography that's there.
Correct. So that is part of Sunset West subdivision that it goes into. So there is an older subdivision that it connects. Part of this development, the owner purchased or has ownership of the private road. And as part of the conditions, they would have to work with those neighbors to make sure there's a road users maintenance agreement at the end of the day, that everybody pays their fair share into the maintenance and upkeep of that road.
And it's all gravel, there's not paving, or did I miss that?
My understanding, it's paved. I believe they had that done a long time ago when it was supposed to go through back in early or late 2000s. So,
Okay, thanks for
Yeah.
the clarification on that. I had one more question on the, and I guess maybe because on one of the plat drawings, the shared gravel access driveway, the plan and profile for that, so I was looking at those lots specifically, and that was what triggered my question, so thanks for providing feedback on that.
All right, we'll move on to our folks who want to testify. So, Greg?
Well, I was just here for question and answer, but Dan could have.
Dan? Okay, Dan?
Testify from back here.
No, come up to the table, please. Come up to the table. We need to get you on the mic. Yeah. So that's recording for us, and I'd like to have a good, clear recording.
Thank you, Commissioner Dale, Commissioner Van Beek. So, as Dan was saying, there is a lot of history with this. Greg started this back in 2006 with an MP level 1. I won't go back through all the history. In 2007, he had the underground done, so he made the investment to do the power joint trench underground, and then the downturn hit, and he's managed to be able to hold on to the property till now.
Go for it.
So now we went ahead and since then his CUP expired. His CUP expired in 2011. So then when it came time that he thought he could actually produce the product again, he came back, and in December of 2018 we had a neighborhood meeting, and then we submitted for preliminary plat, or actually rezone at the time, since the CUP has gone away for this particular situation. So that brings us to here. So some of the questions that we had, so the things on gravity irrigation, no flood irrigation, we agreed to that condition. We agreed to all the conditions that the Planning and Zoning Commission suggested. It sounds like there's a late letter, seems like, but and I think that's part of your package.
Right.
Unfortunately, Mr. Boyd, even though we can empathize with the fact that the area is growing, we find it to be kind of last minute, unfortunately, because it has been going on because it has such a long history. So I apologize, and
Well, the question I have, do you know how long he's lived in that area?
I don't. I found an instrument number that says that it was 2017 when the property changed hands. I don't know if that was a refinance or if it was him moving back into the area. So I don't know.
So I was just trying to understand where he might be coming from. It might be he's not familiar that this has been a project that was approved long ago, and that's why all this work's already done out there.
And that's my guess, Commissioner. So let's see.
I have a question for you.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, I'll be ready to stand for questions anytime. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Chair. On these lots that have the gravity irrigation and dry lots, so you have well water that's gonna provide, the surface irrigation for that. And so is it enough to take care of so it doesn't grow weeds and have issues on those bigger lots like that?
They're smaller lots. You can irrigate a half acre. You're kind of limited to how much cover you can have as far as building wise, because you still need to provide septic. So half acre, usually, quite often, some people push that limit. So at least a half acre is what I can say by code.
Right.
Will they irrigate more? They may. Do they have the ability to go to IDWR and ask for an additional water right? Yes, that avenue does exist.
Okay, and thank you for that. Dan did mention that, so I was just curious on.
Yeah.
All right, anything else?
I just look forward to you guys' approval on this one.
All right.
So does Mr. Sample. Thank you, Commissioners.
All right, thank you.
Questions.
I have no other questions. I think we can move ahead with this. I think we've had a lot of good background, and it's been going on for a long time. So Greg, did you want to say anything? You're pretty quiet over
I'm
there.
just here for questions, and you had questions earlier I could have answered pretty easy, but I flipped my tractor out there a couple months ago.
Flipped it?
Yeah,
That's not a good thing.
so it was pretty bad, but
Yeah.
I was on that slope there.
Oh, yeah.
It's cutting the weeds down, but yeah, I'm very familiar with all that, the canal, and any
Yeah.
questions you have, I'm really familiar with it.
And which canal, is that New York? That's not New York.
Mora,
The Mora Canal.
the Mora Canal,
Oh, okay.
and it's a good 100 yards underground. Used to go around the hill, now it's all.
Yeah, it's actually tiled right through there.
Oh, really? Okay, okay.
It's south of Lake Shore, kind of sequestered back in there.
Yeah, yeah,
Pretty, I would guess.
beautiful, the top floor have beautiful views of the Hawaii.
And there's no mosquitoes out there at all, so it's a
No.
nice place, yeah.
So I'm curious, is that lot 8, that's a kind of a nice, if somebody wants just to sequester, that slope is,
And that's actually one of the ones in demand because you don't get the western winds
Right.
as it comes down, where the other ones are quite windy.
right.
So, yeah, that's my favorite one. Yeah,
But
yeah.
it looks like it's really
Okay.
development.
Yeah.
And you also own the other one that's not a part of this proposal on the Sunset West, is that true?
I guess I own the road,
Oh, okay.
but just the road. And then I'm working with them, they're gonna pave the rest of that gravel. There's, I think,
Oh,
6
okay.
houses up there. And I paved up to there, and then they're gonna pave the rest.
Okay.
And everybody's in approval of it.
Yeah.
They're very happy to see it.
They'll be happy to get rid of that dust and see the grass.
Exactly, exactly.
All right, well, thank you, appreciate that. I don't have, we have nobody else wishing to testify, so want to close it?
Close the,
Yeah, let's close the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, I move that we close the public hearing.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so.
Commissioner Dale?
Yes, Dan, go ahead.
I just want to add that, to the record, that Exhibit 7, that late exhibit from Mr. Boyd. I just want to get that
Yeah.
recognized on the record.
Okay, thank you. We do have a letter from Mr. Boyd that expressed some concerns and frustrations on his part, so we did talk about that briefly, so. All right, thanks, Dan, I appreciate that, exhibit number 7. You know, I think this has been going on a long time, and it's time for you to be able to move forward, and I'm totally in favor of this, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also support this, and just again, for the record, to address Mr. Boyd's concerns. The applicant has not done anything except try to put in the infrastructure at the time that this was originally approved, and so it may look out of order, but it's because the process.
Because of the delay and all that kind of stuff, the economic conditions.
Are you ready for a motion?
Yeah, I'm ready for motion, yeah, go ahead.
And Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the preliminary irrigation agreement plan for Pelican subdivision, case number SC 2019-0014 as presented.
And you want
And that we sign the findings of fact at conclusion of the onward.
to, okay, I'll second that. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, go forth and prosper. And we'll look forward to seeing that final plat come back here. That'll conclude this meeting. Thank you.
Actually, I was gonna ask you next, because are we off the record?